Yes, you can retire on a cruise ship, and this time we'll go from Mexico to the Mediterranean, and we'll do it in style. I got my first request from a subscriber, and they wanted me to do a video that focused on celebrity cruises. So I'm going to do that right now. And also, I'm going to change things up a bit so that this portion of your cruise retirement will show you more of our world than my last video. I'm going to start us off in Florida and see Mexico and the Caribbean, then take us on a transatlantic to the Mediterranean, where I'll change our ships a couple times so that we can see even more ports while we're there. It will cover about 15 glorious weeks with more than 29 amazing ports and multiple stops in most of them, so that you can really dive into your explorations and see everything you wanted to see. So this is going to be a big adventure, and I'm so excited to share it with you. I also want to say thank you so much for subscribing and hitting that like button. When I woke up this morning and saw how many subscribers I had, I was absolutely giddy. And I don't use that word often. I mean, who does? But it fits. I was giddy. And I'm also so happy to see so many people commenting and even answering each other's questions. I feel like we're building a community of cruisers who really want to shake things up a bit in our retirement years, and I'm so grateful to all of you. So please always feel free to comment and help each other out. I love seeing all the positivity among all of you. I'll also address some of your comments to me in this video. A few of you mentioned that you'd go crazy in an interior cabin, and I totally understand that. So for this video, you can see I'm focusing exclusively on balcony cabins. I am going to go for the cheapest ones they've got, so they might not be the best, but I agree with you about how nice it is to be in a balcony cabin, especially if I'm headed to someplace like the Mediterranean, because I want to see that scenery as much as possible. So we're going to break the bank a little more with this one. I also wanted to say that I am so glad to see many of you suggesting a travel agent if you're doing this. I agree 100%. I'm kind of more of a hands-on person, and as you can see from my videos already, I just love crunching numbers and plotting out destinations and itineraries before I'd ever even consider calling a travel agent, because I think I drive them crazy. And to be honest, I just like booking things myself. But you are correct that a good travel agent can really make sure that you're getting all the perks. Also keep in mind that if you are really going to try cruise ship retirement, you're going to start earning rewards from the cruise lines. So be sure to sign up for every cruise line's reward program. They're kind of like frequent flyer programs, but at sea rather than in the sky. For Royal Caribbean, it's called the Crown and Anchor Society. For Celebrity, it's called the Captain's Club. And since we're talking about Celebrity on this video, I should also point out that Royal Caribbean owns Celebrity. So even though their frequent cruiser programs are called different things, there's a lot of reciprocity for most of the different levels of membership. For Carnival, they call it the VIFP Club. And for Disney, it's the Castaway Club, and so on. So with all these benefits that you'll eventually get from cruising so frequently, you'll see more savings on things like drinks. You'll also often get special access to different parts of the ship and better seating for shows and other perks. Some even offer to do a certain amount of laundry for you if you're at a higher level. For example, on Royal Caribbean, if you're at their Diamond Plus level, you'll actually get a free load of laundry, which is really going to come in handy doing back-to-back cruising. And that's a free load of laundry per cruise. So you'll love that, because laundry is incredibly expensive on a cruise ship. You can also see if you can whittle down these prices by seeing if you can get reduced rates if you're an AARP member, or a AAA member, or a resident of a particular state, or even military or former military. In fact, right now, Norwegian Cruise Line offers 10% off for military and retired military, which I really think is fantastic. In fact, I think I'd like to do an NCL video next, because I love the food on NCL cruises, so let me know if that's something you'd like to see. Anyway, there are so many ways to bring these prices down, but not by too much. And for the purposes of my videos, I'll always just give you the prices I'm seeing for people who don't have any of those special perks or discounts, because let's face it, most of us don't. As you'll see, Celebrity actually adds in the gratuities for you online, provided you choose that option. So I won't need to add that in at the end like I did in my previous 2 videos. And you'll also see me waffling a little as I debate whether or not to choose the drink package. But I always choose not to because honestly, I just don't drink enough to make it worth it. If I drank enough to make it worth it, I honestly don't think I'd be able to enjoy all these amazing destinations I'd be seeing during this chunk of my retirement, because as much as I love to talk about drinking margaritas, the truth is, after just one, I'm usually sound asleep by the pool. How about you? But you might be able to handle your alcohol better than me, so be sure to factor that into your budget. And since I mentioned all those amazing places you'll see, I think I'll tell you more about that now. I'm going to brutalize at least 3 or 4 of these pronunciations here, so please be kind and patient with me. During this 15-week chunk of your retirement, you will have 3 visits to Costa Maya, 2 visits to Belize City, 3 visits to Cozumel, 1 visit to Key West, 1 visit to Bermuda, 1 visit to Gibraltar, 1 visit to Cartagena, Spain, 6 visits to Rome, 7 visits to Naples, Italy, 1 visit to Catania, 4 visits to Montenegro, 4 visits to Dubrovnik, Croatia, 4 visits to Split, Croatia, 2 visits to Ravenna, Italy, 2 visits to Zadar, Croatia, 3 visits to Messina, Sicily, 3 visits to Livorno, Italy, 4 visits to La Spezia, Italy, 4 visits to Portofino, Italy, 1 visit to Brindisi, Italy, 2 visits to Cannes, France, 1 visit to Palma de Mallorca, 1 visit to Nice, France, 1 visit to Mykonos, Greece, 1 visit to Ephesus, Turkey, 1 visit to Istanbul, 1 visit to Santorini, and 1 visit to Olympia, Greece. I know it sounds really overwhelming, and honestly, if you were planning on getting off the ship at every port, it would be overwhelming. But some of those days when you're in port and you've already seen everything you wanted to see, you really might benefit from putting your feet up and just drinking a margarita by the pool like I mentioned. The fact is, though, I love having multiple visits to the same port because it gives you the opportunity to really see everything that you wanted to see. One of the reasons I don't personally care for those set-in-stone world cruises is because I hate it when I spend a day in port and then come back to the ship and hear from the other cruisers all the other cool things that I could have done in that port if I only had more time. With multiple visits, I don't need to worry about that. Also, you really will need multiple visits to the same port sometimes because many of the places you see are actually really rather far from the port itself. So it's not like you're going to actually be able to spend the entire day exploring. Some of that will be in transit, whether on a bus or on a train. I know I said in previous videos that I'd personally prefer staying on the same ship for a 3-month span of time, but if I'm going to the Mediterranean, I really do want to see a lot. And often if you stay on the same ship, you'll be experiencing the same itinerary week after week. And that's a fine option too. But for this video, I thought it would be a good idea to change from the Celebrity Constellation to the Celebrity Ascent and then to the Celebrity Equinox. Each time we change ships, there will be no traveling to another city or country involved. I've rigged it so that you are disembarking from your ship in the same port that you'll be picking up your next ship. Of course, this takes a little more work and it's kind of tricky just because you have to time things perfectly when you plan it. And I actually was up early this morning drafting it out so that you would see a nice clean recording for this video, or it literally would have ended up being a couple hours long, and no one wants to listen to me for that long. As our 15-week span starts winding up, I want to end this chunk of retirement in Rome because from Rome, I can do so many things. I can fly home and then get back on board another ship headed elsewhere. I can stay in Rome for a few days and get my laundry done and catch my breath, and then head out for more Mediterranean cruises. Or I could do what would be most appealing personally to me, which is to fly to London from Rome and then hop on board a cruise from Southampton so that I could see some of the UK and Norway, and maybe even take another transatlantic back to the US that fall when a lot of the cruise lines head back to Florida. So let me know if you have any interest in seeing how I'd pull that off, and I'll do a video about it. The reason I like this idea is because I have a terrible time dealing with time changes, and there's only 1 hour time difference between Rome and London. So I like the idea of enjoying more of Europe without having to deal with that time difference again. So that brings us to a grand total of $49,523.70. That includes gratuities this time, but no drinks, no insurance, and yep, no laundry. So for a year of celebrity cruises enjoying these destinations, I'd say the estimate would be about $171,682.16. But that is a very, very rough estimate, because when you're doing cruises that shift from one region of the world to another, the prices are going to change drastically. I'm sure you noticed that the Mediterranean cruises were sometimes around twice what the Caribbean cruises were when our video first started off. So it really depends on just how long you want to stay in these more expensive areas like the Mediterranean. If you shift quickly back to Florida, you'll end up with a much lower number. So that gives me some hope. So, where to next, everyone? Should we head back to Florida where it's cheaper, or straight over to Northern Europe like I mentioned before? Or should we go to Alaska, which is hands down my favorite place to visit on a cruise? You let me know in the comments below and I'll start crunching those numbers for you. Thank you so much for watching and for subscribing and for making this such a wonderful, positive community.